And if we see, as humans, we are social beings, and relationships play a very, very important part, extremely, extremely important part, right? But the other thing also is because, there is so much of digitization that has happened around us. Social media is so, it's there all around us. I mean, today we are surrounded by a lot of things, but also increasingly people are finding themselves a little alone in the whole process, right? And loneliness and being alone also is a big, big thing that is, like I said, people have been experiencing. So I think very, very important to be in touch with things around us, and Manpreet also touched on it. And also to really, really now think and cultivate the right relationships in our lives. So okay, so let's talk about, that when we talk about relationships, there are certain things that come into our mind, isn't it? And I'm talking from the perspective of maybe young people, especially the young people here, because a lot of times when we are in relationships, and relationships can be, with anyone. It could be with friends, it could be with our peers. Of course, family is one big, big thing, but it could be anything. And a lot of times there's a lot of heartache also that goes with relationships, right? So always this feeling of being judged, right? And feeling sometimes not being reciprocated, wavelengths not matching up, getting intimidated sometimes by some people around us, could be friends, could be anybody, right? And these are challenges that I think everybody today faces, and it's not age. I said I'm speaking to the younger people here, but I don't think it's age specific. Also, these are challenges that anybody faces at any point of a time in their life, and they could be at any age bracket, right? And always remembering that relationship is a happy, secure place, and like I said, human beings are social, social animals, and they always like to be surrounded with people, around with people, and of course relationships. So what are the things that determine the relationships that I hear? So I just talked about why relationships are important. They, like I said, they are a happy, secure place for us. And also, there are certain relationships that we are born into, right? We are born into, our family, our parents, our siblings, our cousins, and that entire family unit that we have around us. And because of this, and we always say that, we can't choose our family. And so I think sometimes that's the reason why these relationships become even more special, because because you're not choosing them, they're there. So that, that unconditional kind of a, give and take starts happening, where we talk about family units. But having said that, in today's world, there are also a lot of challenges that arises, sometimes because of, a lot of other issues, but mostly because of our mindsets as well. If I look at a very typical parents children relationship in today's world, right? We've always heard our parents, while growing up, telling us, I didn't speak to my mother like this, or I didn't, we never spoke about this to our father. And that's the kind of mindset each one of us grows up with, right? So like Manpreet said, a lot of things come to us subconsciously as well. We see things around us, we see how our parents, how their interactions are, how are they kind of, coping up with certain things, and we're not even thinking about it, and sometimes it just kind of ingrains into in our brain, right? I've had so many friends, who've had challenges, and they always ended up saying, I'm not going to be like that, or when I grow up, I'm going to be sure that I'm not going to behave like this. And over the years, when you talk to them and say, oh my God, we just, I just reacted in a similar manner, or I just turned up and, just said the same things that probably I thought I will never end up reacting in that particular manner, right? So there are lots of things that go into us subconsciously as well. So like I said, when we talk about mindsets, so we kind of grow up with that kind of a mindset. We just feel that, this is how we have to kind of work on that relationship, or that's that cycle that I call it the parent child cycle today, really. Where the children feel, oh, only if I had more understanding from my parents, I would respect them more, right? Or I would kind of, would probably, kind of communicate more, or it could be anything else, right? And the parents always feel, oh, I wish, I could get more respect and then I could probably understand the situation more. So it's a kind of a vicious cycle that continues, right? So of course, I think one is we have to break that mindset. We are living in a different world today, and because of that, I think communication becomes very, very important. And I've talked in the earlier sessions also that communication where we can actually one to one talk about our feelings, talk about our resentments at times, because resentment also happens because of our inability to certain times not address certain issues. And why are we not addressing those issues is also because of our mindset. There are some barriers that are there. So instead of creating proper boundaries in regards, there are barriers. So when we're not able to cross those barriers, that's where the resentment happens, right? So breaking those mindsets and then effective communication. I mean, having a one-to-one. I've seen so many children and parents communicating like that today, like, okay, can we just talk to you? I just want to address this issue, or I want to address this issue. What I'm trying to say is that resentment, building up resentment is, it's like drinking poison yourself. You feel you are affecting the other person, but it's not. You're really affecting, or it's causing you more harm than anybody else, right? And we can go our entire life saying that, oh, this person, my family did not understand me, or we can actually take those steps and work on those areas. So I'm talking about relationships in a very, very holistic manner, right? Why? Because I've dealt with a lot of people. Have had teenagers, grown up boys now. I know communication challenges, I know all those things, and I'm very, very lucky and privileged to be a part of an organization and a part of a work, where apart from just the money and the success, which most of the people, when they talk about work, that's what it is, like, okay, x amount of goals are there, money has to be made, and this much of success has to be made. I was very lucky and privileged in that manner, that work that was taking me towards those things also meant working with a lot of people where relationships were very, very important. And not only were they important, there were certain things which were always being talked about and done. So coming from that perspective and really understanding the longevity of any work actually depends upon the kind of relationships and the kind of and if you have good relationships around you, you grow up to be more confident, more compassionate, more loving, and a more giving person, right? And that's a holistic view that we need to take in today's world, because everything is actually based on how we interact with people and the kind of relationships that we can create. Of course, we know that certain years we spend a lot of time doing a certain point of activity, and then later on we realize, okay, life is all about creating and strengthening the bonds and the relationships that we have in life, right? But the gap between that, and the hurt, the resentments, and the feelings that are hurt, what we are trying to do today is to just help you to kind of bridge that gap, right? So that those many years don't have to be there for you to actually understand and value certain things that are around us. So all right, so that's about family, and even it happens with siblings. I think communication is a big thing today, right? Then of course our relationship with our friends, where we talk about why do we have better relationship with our friends? Because we just feel they have similar opinions, similar mindsets, and they're not judging, right? And that's why it becomes very, very easy to communicate with them vis-a-vis communicating with our family here. Then of course with our peers and colleagues, so the relationship that we need there is of course of encouragement, of understanding. Teamwork is there, so of course interpersonal skills also come into picture. Teamwork and team building skills also have to come into picture there. But I think very, very important thing is to understand, is to really being having that initiative to help somebody and to encourage is something that you would help you to create some good lasting relationships there, right? Spouse, partners, husband and wife, right? Or it could be boyfriend, girlfriend, or it could be a partner, right? So what kind of relationship? So it's basically partnership. And like Manpreet said, we grow up with lots of conceptions about what love is, and we just grow up because we've seen certain things. We've been living, or we've been growing up and watching the Bollywood movies and the Hollywood movies, and what love is supposed to be and what an ideal house is supposed to be. We grew up with all those things being fed into our mind, right? A reality check. I grew up reading lots of Mills and Boons. At our times, we didn't have those many movies and Netflix and, nothing of that sort. All we had, all for us, what we had was Mills and Boons. And I know, I mean, till today, we friends, we laugh about, that, Mills and Boons had a particular kind of a hero, right? And each, every girl who was reading Mills and Boons always thought that that's the kind of person who exists, and vice versa, right? I don't know why guys didn't read Mills and Boons. Yeah, it was more of a girls thing. But anyway, so that's how, one grows up thinking. So today, it's more of partnership. It's more of, people that you can be comfortable with, you can be friendly with, you can have meaningful conversations. You share the same interests, you share the same kind of, long term vision of what life is, what your passions are, what your interest is, right? So those things are very, very important. And also about give and take. It's not about certain person has to take a more kind of a role. I don't think that is there in India also today. I think we have, girls are very, very well educated, independent, smart. The same thing happens with the guys today. So I think it's a very good a place to have a perfectly equal partnership, and that's how, that's again a mindset. That's how we need to grow and to understand. So if you're ready for that, you could actually kind of strengthen the bond and have great relationships there, right? Okay, so to have strong and long term relationships, it's about, like I said, it's about give and take. I heard this a long time back, and it's somehow always stuck into my mind, is about emotional change. Like when we go to bank and we deposit money there in an X amount, and you need to take out that money because you have enough in your account, you can take it back. The same thing happens with our emotional balance as well. So every relationship is actually an account today, right? Not today. I mean, it is an account, right? If you're depositing enough, you can also withdraw, right? So it's always about putting enough emotional change in all your relationships, right? And like I said, it's give and take, and also never taking relationships to be like transactional. Sometimes if I did this much, I've always been there, I've always helped, and this person, at times I just feel that, I know in today's world it's very, very easy to be transactional in that manner, but it's not, because I just feel that, and I think the moment these things starts happening, you build your confidence and you suddenly kind of reconnect with your core values. And that's where the outside world also changes with you. Your outside relationships also change with you, right? So I just feel that, you don't bring yourself down because somebody else did not do the right thing, right? You continue because you are you, right? You have certain things, you have your core values, so you continue to do what is right, and you help the other person to rise to it rather than the opposite thing happening. And like I said, the moment you connect to what your core values are, what you really want, and how you're actually thinking, whether it's coming from a place of love, whether it's coming from a place of compassion, whether it's coming from a place of, let's say, just being a good friend, or just being a group, a good partner. It could be coming from anywhere, right? But that's what really, really makes a difference, right? Of course, love, compassion, and understanding. In good doses, not where somebody is kind of, of course, I think today all of us are, we are aware which relationships this needs to go on, right? We know what toxic relationships can be. We know where other person is taking you for a ride, or we know where, somebody is affecting your self esteem. I think that's a toxic relationship. That's a relationship you have to just say absolutely no to, right? A relationship is, I'm talking about a relationship where somebody takes you as a person of worth. If somebody is ready to accept who you are and also would know the value that comes with you, right? So that's an entirely different topic where we talk about toxic relationships. I know a lot of youngsters, where they could be going around, and then one person could say a lot of things, and the other person taking it at times, maybe taking it because, they're cool about it, or taking it because, it's okay, I understand. No, I don't think so. That's not the right thing. That's a toxic relationship. If anybody puts you down and affects your self esteem and confidence over a period of time, is just not cool. It's, we can't use a, like, can't kind of categorize it in those in that manner there. But like, having said that, it's a absolutely a difficult, different topic here. Loyalty, being loyal to some, I feel just being loyal in a relationship. It could be, in friends, or it could be, in your team that you're working in an office. It could be anywhere else. Just being loyal is such an endearing quality, and just helps you to create such strong, relationships. And I can quote for myself, just being very loyal to my mentors over a period of time. Of course, at times I could see eye to eye with them. There are certain areas I don't see, but a lot of times you know it that loyalty helped me to take, some wrong steps, or to take some different steps, because my core value, I just stood by that, and that thing helped that relationship. So I think very, very important. And then, of course, no loose talk, no gossip. And especially if something has to be addressed, it should be addressed face to face, rather than, addressing it to, it's like, this quote, I'm sure each one of you would have probably heard, that, if you feel there is something not right, can you tell me, rather than I get to hear from somebody else. So I think that's another very, very important qualities. And I love the talk that Manpreet did on boundaries, right? And I just feel that there can be no relationship without boundaries, this says posture and relationships, and there's absolutely no relationship that should not have a fine line or a boundary. And that's about, self care, and that's about self love, and that's about, actually looking after yourself, right? And where you create boundaries, right? And even to very close friends, they could be sharing anything, but there are certain boundaries that should not be crossed. It should not be taken for granted, right? And like she said, you can't pour from an empty cup. So until and unless we don't have that self-worth and self-esteem and the other things, it's very, very difficult to kind of give it to anybody else also in a relationship, right? And then another thing which I think relationships very important is your listening skills, right? Sometimes we just love to talk about ourselves. We love to talk about what we are doing, what we've done, what the times we've had, and blah blah blah. In a relationship which is give and take, it's very, very important to listen. And I just feel God has created that, He's given us 2 ears and one mouth, so it has to be used in that proportion also. The moment you start doing that, you start being a good listener, it really helps you with your relationships as well as. And I think the world needs more of people who are empathetic. Empathy is such a important thing. I think whether it's a relationship with a family, whether it is your friends, whether it is, your colleagues, whether it is anybody around you, empathy is what it is. It just gives you a different perspective. And you know what, the surprising part about human beings is that we always judge others by the actions that they do, and we always judge ourselves by our intention, right? If we can actually get into somebody's shoes, I mean, for example, even, your parents can get into children's shoes and just think, what is going on, how things are happening. I wanted to, you hear a lot of times, oh, I really wanted the best for them. Or parents saying something and the children not probably understanding, and they take it as nagging or anything else. You're probably just going into their shoes and trying to understand. So the moment, you empathize, that is where a lot of things starts, really, really working out for you. So I think this is very important, very, very important, where relationships are concerned. So who can you trust, right? When we talk about relationships, and then when to lead and when to follow in a relationship, right? Everybody, if you're in a relationship, it could be any relationship. Again, I don't want to define relationships today, for a very simple reason, that it could be any relationship. Everybody will have their phases of, sometimes two friends, and one can be a little stronger at times, and the other, could lead at that point of time, of whatever their strengths are, right? It's not a power game. It's not about that. It's about whoever is better at whatever can lead, right? And it's always a great idea to be number two, because the most you learn is when you're number two and number three, rather than always wanting to be the number one, right? I for once am very, very happy, being number two, number three, number four, right? So that I can get enough things to learn, and then of course one can lead, right? So it is said now you have to be the best follower before you can be the best leader, right? So that becomes very, very important. So ego is something that you know uh, uh, I heard the story and I thought it's so relevant. This is about Lord Buddha, who in one of his sermons, he carries a handkerchief with him. And, his disciples ask him, in fact, they're surprised because he's never ever carried a handkerchief, right? For one of the sermons, right? And he starts tying those very fine knots. And, that entire handkerchief is, those knots are tied. And then he shows it to his, to his followers. And he says, okay, what do you see? He says, of course, it's all knotted up. He says, okay, so what if I you open the knots, and then it's difficult to open the knots. He gives it to someone, so that person says, Ki, maybe if I know how you had tied the knot, it's easier. Otherwise, it's difficult to open the knot. So every time we have a kind of a problem in a relationship, right? It could be an argument, it could be a quarrel, it could be anything. So the moment we are kind of not ready to solve things, we are just making those knots even tighter. So, instead of untying certain things, we just keep creating knots, which just becomes tighter and tighter and tighter over a period of time. And that kind of starts, kind of starts defining, the relationships for us, and also starts defining how flexible we are, or how happy we are we going to be full of anger and resentment, and we're going to be full of that feeling of that unfair things have happened, and that's where we lose our happiness factor, right? And you can't teach love when you're not full of love from inside, right? You can't give happiness if you're not happy from inside, right? So that's what starts defining our years. Then it starts defining our relationships, it starts defining where we are in the journey of life, right? So those things have to be worked on, those things have to be untied, they have to be loosened up, right? And that happens when we are ready to give our ego, right? And so of course people you can trust or lean on is people who have stood the test of time, who have been with you through thick and thin. People, honest people, I feel they're the best. I mean, they can be at times a little unnerving when they say things right on your face, but you know what, having said that, they are the best people, right? And sometimes when we ask people to be honest, we also have to be the right people. I've had a lot of times people tell me, okay, tell me what exactly, and then you tell them, and then they get defensive about it, right? So to get the feedback also, and you need to be more open there, right? Then I said, then of course straight talkers, people who are open. And I think friendship and relationships, you have to be straight. The more you keep going round and round, the more knots are there, the more challenges that happens, right? It should be, okay, we've talked, maybe you didn't like it, but we have at least done and dusted, and we can move on, rather than just going on and on around, and the person not getting the message, and then resentment building in. I don't think life is worth it, right? We have one life. We need to build this, people who are your friends and who have stood the test of your friendship. And a lot of times that you people that you socialize together with, a lot of times you're spending a lot of times together. And of course people, you can trust on people where your core value matches. So for me, for my friendship, it's very important that our core values need to match, right? My relationship is will only strengthen when those at least those basic core values are matched there, right? And then of course we need to work on ourselves. How do we need to work on ourselves? Manpreet has actually spoken about it, but I think no talk about relationships or how we need to work on strengthening those relationships is ever going to be complete without really knowing how we need to work on ourselves. So definitely, there are areas that we need to work on around us. It's not always outside, it's a lot of things are inside, and it's what is inside actually determines what is outside around us, right? So of course, affirmations is something that I wanted to talk about as well, because whatever areas that you feel you need to work on, you just need to affirm. So just keep a affirmation journal with you where you're writing your affirmations, right? And kind of improving in certain areas that are around you, knowing and working on your strength areas, right? Once you're comfortable and happy about it, you know what your strength areas are and you're able to use it, you will attract a lot of good people around you, and those happy relationships will be forged because you are happy, you know what you are doing, and you're going to be making it into a very safe space around you where a lot of people, also similar kind of people, can come, and very nice progressive relationships can be worked on. Confidence is again something that I think each one of us needs to work in. So a lot of times affirmations, and of course a lot of times kind of right from your core values to building on some skill sets, or working in that area. I mean, that's a different topic again, how to build your confidence. Happiness factor, we really need to work on our happiness factor. There can be 10,000 reasons not to be happy, but I think few reasons to be really, really happy and grateful today. I spoke to my friend in the morning today, and he was writing his gratitude journal, and I think, oh wow, the core value matches there. A person who's grateful, is somebody who can have a beautiful and cultivate beautiful relationships around them, and that's the kind of person even I would want to be around, right? So work on your happiness factor, find something to be grateful about, right? If you're happy, when you enter it is said that when you enter a room and you come across people who are happy and laughing, you're attracted towards them. You want to go and sit in that group, which is just appears happy, rather than somebody gloomy standing in the corner. Their vibes and the aura around them is all depleted, and vice versa happens to the other person. So what kind of a person you would want to be, right? So that happiness factor becomes very, very important. Loosening up in life, and also changing mindsets. We are not trees. We can move, we can change, we can improve, right? So that mindset, if somebody was living with that mindset, let's change it. Let's work on certain areas where we can actually help and improve our life. First of all, it's about improving us, issues that are troubling us, where relationships are concerned, and then the others around us will also start working. Yeah, and that Manpreet also said, forgiving yourself, right? Not being very harsh on ourselves, forgiving, loosening up in that manner, also forgiving yourselves, right? Making it easy for yourself and making it easy for others, right? Don't be too bottled up. Don't keep things very, very bottled up. Speak about it, talk about it, communicate about it, laugh about it. I think sense of humor is the best thing that anybody can have in today's world, right? Laugh,